Welcome back to the Tyra Hill Show. This conversation is still going on. Again, I am talking to mental health psychotherapist, Mr. Deshaun Harris. Listen, if you missed part one, go check that out and then come back to this part two, because baby, we've been talking about Black men and mental health. Deshaun, we've talked about the Black church and homosexuality. We talked about your childhood of being in and out of foster care, your mom being in and out of prison, and your mom having a drug addiction, and just life.
Definitely.
And how God just brought you through the trenches.
Definitely.
We talked about so much, but I want to pick up here. Earlier on in the conversation, we were talking about safe places for Black men. And I heard what you said. Because a lot of times we listen, but we don't hear. And I want you to know, and not just you, even to my male fans who said, well, you're always talking about Black women and mental health. What about us men? So I wanted to bring you on, but I hear you, kings, and I see you, kings. And I want to know, how can we as women, not just your wives, your lovers, your girlfriends, your boo thing, your side piece, your sisters, your aunts, your cousins, how can we create a safe place for you all? Because the world is harsh, and we're seeing our Black men are struggling emotionally and mentally. And so what can we do as the village to support you guys?
I think the first thing is understanding that mental health is real.
Okay.
Mental health is a real thing, and people battle their mental health each and every day, have real mental health issues. So, being okay with that and being pro mental health, because a lot of times what I see is a male could suffer from mental health issues, but their significant other doesn't support that. They don't help them with that. They don't help them through it, or they don't, believe in it. So understanding that mental health is real, and if you feel like if your partner, you feel like your partner's suffering from something that you just can't understand, try to help them get therapy. Things that try to help them find a suitable therapist. Encourage that, because the thing is, a lot of males aren't going to say they need it. A lot of men aren't going to take the first step or the initiative. So if a lot of women should encourage that for them and push them to do that, because that's helping them.
Right. And when we say encourage, because we got to be plain, and when we say push, we mean in a loving way.
Absolutely.
We don't mean, there is no way that you can build up someone and tear them down at the same time.
Right.
Am I right about it?
You're right about it.
So what we're saying is, if your man is having outbursts, he's withdrawing, he's not the same, it is not the time, queens,
To tear him down.
to tear that man down. You changed. What's wrong with you? It should go a little something like this. Can I act like you?
Yeah.
Baby, I've noticed that some things are wrong. You're quiet. You're withdrawn. Let's talk about it. What's up? Create a safe place.
Definitely.
Right? And even if you don't like what they got to say, that ain't the time to pop off and y'all know how we get the rolling. I can't roll my neck because my bum button heavy. Rolling our necks and listen.
Right.
And shut up. Just shut up and listen. And not just listen with your ears, listen with your heart.
And pay attention to those behavioral patterns. Like you just said, if you know that this person was this way before and now he's this way, pay attention to that.
Because we say stuff like this, and it be dumb stuff too. I have to stop myself from cussing sometimes. It be dumb stuff. You don't look like you depressed. You ain't depressed.
What does depression look like?
Oh, come on now, especially when we mask it up.
A lot of people are high-functioning depressed.
Come on now, high-functioning depressed. So what does that look like?
That looks like your regular everyday life. They're doing everything in their regular routine. They could be having a good time in front of you, but when they go home or when they get into their home safe haven, it's a different story.
And that was me. before I started therapy. Life of the party, gonna have a great time. I'm gonna smile all night long.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get home, the mask came off.
Yeah.
And I was still feeling hopeless, helpless, mind all over the place, and I suffer from anxiety too. That was the journey for me, finding not just the right therapist, and we're going to talk about that, how to find a right therapist.
Yeah.
Because there's no perfect therapist. You have to find somebody for you, but we're going to talk about that. But finding the right medication for my anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
I had to advocate for myself.
Yeah.
Because the first two medications did me no justice. I completely shut down. It was like almost a downer for me. And I was like, you know what, I'm not taking this medicine, but that anxiety wasn't going nowhere.
Right.
So then I said, well, just find the right medication for you. If you're not your biggest advocate, no one else is going to fight for you.
Absolutely.
The doctors don't know how this is making you feel. So you have to convey this to them.
Mm-hmm.
And probably after the third try, baby, I got the right medicine. Let me tell y'all something. She been good ever since. Right? So when I tell people, when I first started talking about mental health, and it was such a vulnerable moment for me, because I think I went to social media and said something like, hi, my name is Tyra. I own a media company. I do radio. I do TV. But I suffer from mental health and anxiety. And people was like, what? You? And I was like, yeah, me. So I felt like I put a face to my followers.
Yeah.
And then I talk about it. And I start seeing people inbox me, I'm going to see a therapist, and that started making me feel good.
And what you also showed them is even the strongest people suffer from mental health issues.
How did you know I was strong?
You can tell.
Oh, yeah, honey, yes.
But anyone who can mask their
Mhm.
mental health issues and continue to put on a facade or continue to be the life of the party, that's a strong person.
That's a strong person, huh?
And I'm gonna tell you why. Because mental health can tear you down.
Yes.
A lot of people don't make it through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people aren't as strong enough to make it through because they may not have that support system or they may not have tried therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you made it through on your own, prior to seeking therapy and prior to seeking medication, you made it through on your own. That made you strong right there, and it made you even stronger when you decided to seek therapy.
I never even looked at it like that.
Yeah.
And I've probably been in therapy for years. I think I was the first one in my family to go to therapy. Were you the first one in your family?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah. I've been going to therapy since I was a kid, so yeah.
Yeah, so you've been, yeah.
But
Yeah.
even just seeking therapy is not an easy task, you know. First of all, you have to come to terms and accept that you have a mental health issue, or you just feels like there's some type of imbalance going on, and you know you're not feeling yourself. You have to accept that, and then to actually take the initiative and seek out a therapist, knowing you might not get it right on the first therapist.
Right.
You might have to go through 4 or 5 therapists. It's like a trial and error period.
I went through 3.
So just knowing those things and actually putting your best foot forward and doing those things, that takes a strong person, and it takes a lot of will.
I want to say something. Let's park it right there for a minute. It's just like dating.
Yep.
You know, people, I don't want to have to find a therapist. You out here finding a man or a woman, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like dating. You got to see if it's a good fit, you know. And we go on a date. I think you cute from your Tinder. I don't know nothing about Tinder, but I'm just gonna say swipe left, swipe right. I just hear the stories.
Yeah.
And I think you cute, and we go on a date, but we come face to face, and you ain't everything I thought you was gonna be. So I'm dating. I just move on, right?
Yeah.
It's just no different than with a therapist or even a doctor, right?
Yep.
Because my doctors, and I thank God for my team of health professionals, they have to be able to listen to me.
Absolutely.
And so I literally handpick my doctors. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's no different from finding the right doctor for whatever ailment you're going through versus a right therapist for you.
And not being open and honest with your doctor is only going to hinder you. And it's the same as a therapist.
Because why do we think we can go to therapy and not be open and honest?
and it's not to say you have to be open
Right.
on the first initial session,
Right.
but at some point you're going to have to,
Be vulnerable.
yeah. And the thing about it is that's where the therapist will help you.
Mm-hmm.
They, you know, if you're comfortable with that therapist, it'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, I think people think the therapists tell you what to do, and I say that all the time. My therapist Tracy does not tell me what to do.
At all.
She helps me with the tools that I need
Yep.
to make
Equip
decisions for my life.
Yep.
She don't make decisions for me.
She better equips you with the tools and resources. And I always tell every client in the initial session, therapy is a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
You talk, I talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't do this without you talking because that's how I find out a lot of things that I need to know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a two-way street. And like you said, I can't give you the answers.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that I'm human too.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things we talk about might just hit home for me as well.
Right.
So I can't give you the answers, but what I can do is, like you said, I can give you the tools to better equip you on how to handle certain situations. I can give you coping strategies.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's your choice on what you want to take it, what you want to do with that. If you want to take it and utilize it and apply it to your life, then we can get somewhere.
I learned to breathe because see, I'm a reactor. I'm gonna give you what you asked me for, right?
Yeah.
If you want it, I'm gonna give it to you. But now, I've learned to breathe.
Breathing techniques.
Just
4, 7, 8.
Yeah.
In through your nose, out through your mouth.
Listen, and that has saved some people, honey. Breathing has saved some of y'all lives. And so I'll never forget when Tracy said to me, "Stop. You have to learn how to breathe." And I was like, well, who you hollering at? But she was absolutely right. Because I was on a rampage. And then I'm kind of like a tyrant when I go there because it takes a lot to get me there. And so I've learned to breathe, honey. And sometimes, and I've been put in situations, you know, it's going to test your gangster a little bit. And I done called Tracy and be like, girl, I took a breath today and you just saved somebody's life. You know, because, and then I started saying, oh my God, therapy is showing up. I started sounding different. Yep. I started reacting differently.
You started showing up differently.
Yes.
A lot of times, you know, you said you suffer from anxiety.
Yes.
With anxiety, our automatic nervous system is automatically in fight or flight mode.
And why I always say that? It's either flight with me or fight.
Yep, we're in fight or flight mode. But when you take that moment to just breathe, that's an impulse control. You just breathe for a second. You're calming your body now. You're calming your body. You're relaxing your muscles. Because I'm sure you're tense when it gets to that, right?
I start shaking.
Yeah. So you're calming your body. You're relaxing.
Yeah, I just be like, oh Jesus. I'd be like, just lock my guns away. Just lock my guns away.
You're telling your body it's okay. Everything is okay. Your surroundings are fine. You know.
But I wasn't taught that.
Right.
You know, and you hear people rah. And I'd be like, how can people even communicate? Because now I'm on the outside looking in. Yeah. I'm like, baby, take a breath. You can't convey what you're saying because you're so here.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you don't have a right to be mad, because I'll be mad too. What I'm telling you is to take a breath, step back from it, and now let's reapproach it.
Absolutely.
With a calmness, you know, because I don't think people understand when that adrenaline gets and that's why you hear people say, I can't believe I just did that. Because they don't really, you know, they're gone by that time.
Yep. And you hear people say they blacked out.
Yeah. Ooh, you know how many times I didn't use that one? I backed out.
It happens.
It happens.
It happens.
But when and let's be clear, we all understand that trauma is in every community. The Latino community, the Caucasian community, every ethnicity has trauma. Yeah. But Black trauma or African American trauma or trauma of brown people looks different. And the reason why it looks different is because we weren't privileged. We don't have the resources. When we say community trauma, your children aren't living in neighborhoods where they hear gunshots, see people get murdered, hear ambulance all day, hear police sirens all day. People don't understand that that's trauma.
We're having different experiences.
We're having different experiences. Yep. And so not only that, economical trauma. I'm out here around people that don't look like me.
Right.
I can go into my Walmart and the shelves are stocked. I go into the city and that Walmart, The shelves are empty. They barely have meat in the meat area. And so I'm thinking about the economical trauma, the difference. And we would hear things growing up, the other side of the railroad tracks.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are real things. But when you're privileged, and we're not angry because y'all privileged, all we saying is, don't try to diagnose us and you don't understand the journey or what we've been through.
Definitely.
Right?
Yep.
Because our trauma looks different from y'all's. Okay, your mom was an alcoholic or may have been on drugs, but you had a nanny.
Yep. And it goes back to what you were saying about cultural competence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of my Caucasian clients have different issues than a lot of my African American.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was trying to say. Let me sip my tea.
And you know, like you said, black people, a black man especially, wants someone who looks like them to be able to express themselves in a better way. And also they want to know that you understand. So, you know, with today we use a lot of pop culture terms. So if I say something to my therapist that's from pop culture because that's how I'm expressing myself, then I expect for him to understand what I'm talking about, or her. I expect for them to understand. And that's not to say that a black person needs to be paired with a black therapist. Right. A person needs to be paired with a suitable therapist. Okay. However, those cultural competencies is a big must.
Well, look into your camera and say that again.
A person not necessarily needs to be paired with a therapist of their color or their race. A person more so needs to be paired with a therapist who's suitable for them. Whether that's a black male and a white therapist or white female therapist, whatever that may look like, as long as that person is suitable for you, then you're good. You know, a white therapist can understand cultural competencies. That's a training that we have to take, cultural competency, or it's also a course in school that we have to take. But you know, people just want to know that they understand, they're being understood, they're being heard, and they can express themselves however they feel, and that you're okay with that.
And I think that's good. That was great to say, because a lot of times, and I just had this situation happen maybe a couple of weeks ago. Something happened with my grandmother. I've been taking care of my 87-year-old grandmother for 6 months, and she's a real golden girl. And I was having a meeting, and they did something that they weren't supposed to do. And I said to the woman, Caucasian woman, how did this happen? And she said to me, you don't have to raise your voice at me. I took a breath. And I said, what we're not going to do is weaponize my voice. Right. Because you're soft-spoken. My voice is husky. I have on a mask, so I'm talking a little bit more louder because I have on a mask. Right. But we're not going to weaponize my voice. Right. And I'm not going to apologize for my voice. Exactly. So there's two things we're not going to do today, is weaponize your tears or my voice. And I meant that. Because a lot of times when we're trying to communicate, they want to label us, and I don't know how it is for my king, so tell me, the angry black woman? Do y'all get the angry black man?
A lot of times, yeah. It may be called something else though, but they definitely.
Well, what they call y'all? Because we the angry black woman, honey. What they call y'all?
Thugs.
Goons.
Right. You know, so
criminals.
Right. It's called
those people.
A lot of different things, but yeah, we definitely get labeled.
And so, how does that work for you when you're trying to express yourself? And that's what a lot of our kings are dealing with. They can't express themselves without being labeled.
It's not acceptable. I don't think the label is acceptable. However, we also have to take a look at ourselves as a whole, as a collective, as a community.
Okay, come on.
Is this what we're portraying to them? Is this the message that we're portraying? And look at how you act. Look at how your black brother act. You know, look at what we're doing in public. They only know what they see. So it's all about how you portray yourself. Look at how you're acting on social media.
Let me spin it for you. Let's talk of Will Smith and Oscars.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Will Smith was America's Hollywood star. Not just in the black community, the white community, see, we had him when he was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Right.
We go way back
Right.
with Will Smith, right? But America is just now seeing who he is as King Richard.
Right.
And all of the other Independence Day and all of the other amazing films he's done. Will had a moment where he flipped out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say he had a right. I'm not going to say he didn't have a right. But he had a human moment. That's the point I want to make.
Right.
So now it's he should be banned. He's this, he's that. Da, 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 da. What did you think about that as not just a black man,
Mm-hmm.
but a psychotherapist?
So for starters, I think that was a lot of displacement.
Okay.
You know, we don't know what goes on inside of Will Smith's home. We don't know what goes on in his actual life.
Well.
So, you know, he could be suffering from mental health issues. He could be suffering from things that he's experienced. So I do think that was displacement, you know. And then the effect of it, I think that, I don't think it was acceptable. However, I think after it happened, it painted a picture for black males, especially now black males in Hollywood. So now I think they're fearful of black males. And that's the picture that it paints, and that's the depiction that's out there.
And I asked you that because you were talking about what picture,
Right.
how do they look at us? Now, are we responsible for how they look at us or how they view us?
We aren't, but we are responsible for our own actions.
Okay, because there has to be accountability, right?
Yep.
And I'm grateful for the Denzel Washington and the Tyler Perrys who pulled. See, I believe in pulling. Old folks used to say, "Pull her coattail."
Yep.
And I felt like his village got around him, and whatever was said was between he and his village. But sometimes we need those people. Not sometimes. We need people in our lives that are able to pull our coattails.
Absolutely.
Or to say that you're wrong.
And that's what's not happening. What's happening is other people are enabling our actions. You know, and if
What does enabling look like?
enabling looks like allowing it, enabling looks like accepting it, egging it on. You know, so you see a lot of things on social media. You see a lot of black men. You might see black men fighting. You might see black men doing certain things that aren't acceptable or, you know, are frowned upon. But where's the village to pull this black man and say this is not acceptable? This is how you handle things.
Like Tyler and Denzel
Exactly.
did.
Where's our Tyler? Where's our Denzel?
Uh-huh.
We don't have too many of those.
And let me tell you what I'm seeing a lot of. I'm seeing a lot of our hip hop artists being murdered. Whether they're murdering each other
Yeah.
or being murdered because they dropped the location. And it's reminding me, it's triggering
Yeah.
me because it's reminding me of Biggie and Tupac. Like when I had to, and I'm so much older than the King Von's generation and all of them, but him, even with that beef with Rondo and King Von, I shouldn't even know about that, should I? But I want to know because I need to know how to pray for these kids. They're losing their lives
Absolutely.
at a fast rate.
Definitely.
And I look at I just seen King Von on Instagram yesterday, and I was like, he was so fine. Little cute thing. And he's not even here to help raise his children, to enjoy his success. So when we talk about things like black on black crime, I hate that terminology. And the reason why I hate it is because there's Hispanic on Hispanic crime, there's white on white crime, there's Italian on mob crime. Like, come on, y'all sit here and watch The Godfather, and y'all want to talk about black on black crime? Am I wrong for feeling that way?
I don't think you're wrong.
I'm just
I don't think
saying.
you're wrong, but I do believe that black on black crime is a huge issue.
It's a real issue. It's a major issue. But what I'm saying is, what y'all not gonna do is label our crime like y'all ain't got no crime amongst y'all's community. Like, come on. We sat here and watched Godfather 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
It's not that many. I'm exaggerating, of course. But all through there, did y'all see the mob killing black people? Did y'all see the mob killing white people? The mob was killing the mob, right?
Yeah.
So that's Italian on Italian crime, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We think about Griselda Blanca and them. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? All I'm saying is this. Stop it with the black on black crime. We know that the black community has issues, right? And we're doing what we can do to clean up our issue. But let's not act like other communities don't have crime.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, I live in a predominantly Caucasian community. And when I look at the newspaper, my mouth hits the floor as if I was in the city. You get what I'm saying? I'm serious.
Yeah.
I could bring me the newspaper right now, and you'd be like, oh my gosh. But because it's not black on black crime, it's not as detrimental.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying, again, there is crime within the black community where black people are committing crimes against other black people. But there is also crimes in Little Italy. There's also crimes in our other places, and that's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So I don't like stereotypes. I don't want people, because their job, they paint us as animals. And I believe that every culture, you got crazy white people, you got crazy black people, you got crazy Latinos, you got crazy Italians. Everybody got a set of crazy in their community.
Yeah.
You know, you have professional black people, you have professional white people. Hell, you got ghetto white people, you got ghetto black people.
Yeah.
It's people. And I really don't think that race should always be
A
factor.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So since we're talking about race, let's talk about black men in mass incarceration.
Okay.
Do you deal with men sometimes who are transitioning out of prison?
So I haven't yet in
Okay.
my experience as a psychotherapist.
You will.
Oh,
I know you will. I know
Definitely,
you will. Mhm.
especially coming from my background. for
Yeah.
sure. But I am a little privy to a lot of that information, a lot of that knowledge.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people don't understand the transitioning phase. It's a lot. Especially when you have people like my family and friends who were locked up for 20 some years. And they go to jail or prison, to the federal, in the 90s, and they get out in 2020.
It's a different time.
We on a whole nother level. They don't know nothing about social media. They don't know nothing about streaming shows. They know about VCRs, VHS tapes, and different things.
Absolutely.
The cost of living is so much more. And so helping incarcerated men and women transition back into this world, it has to be. How was your mother's transition from up out of prison?
So for her, I think I'll say it was a smooth transition.
There was
I
a
don't know
village.
I wouldn't say it was a village, but I don't know what she went through mentally because she didn't express that, and back then mental health wasn't as prevalent as it is now.
Right.
But from the outside looking in, she had a smooth transition.
Okay.
You know, she knew what she had to do, and I think that was because of a lot of help that she got from her probation officer.
Them probation officers, I'm telling you, if you get connected with the right, see, people be looking at the PO officers like they the ops.
Yep.
When you first go in, they do be the ops, because you don't know. You was a PO, so he was the ops before you.
Hey, some people look at therapists as the ops.
Yeah, but it's all about perspective.
Yeah.
See, because when you start healing and that perspective change, because I'm telling y'all right now, Carol Gardner was the ops when I first got on parole probation, okay? But it wasn't until I understood that she genuinely cared about me
Yeah.
that made me change my perspective and say, okay, she might be on to something.
Right.
You know, and so a lot of times we think that people who are put into leadership positions, there has to be a submission. See, one of the problems I think that we have in our community, and I'm black so I can talk about it, is we don't know how to submit. And we don't understand that we're going to have to submit to something. You get what I'm saying? Whether it's your man, your girl, your husband, your wife, the law, a PO officer, there has to be some type of submission, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's hard for us because we come from, ain't nobody telling me what to do. I ain't trying to And it's so funny because I was walking around for years singing Kanye's song. Which one? You can't tell me none. You can't tell me none. Like that was like, right? But that's the mindset that Some of us have. You can't tell me nothing.
Right.
But that mindset stops us from evolving.
Absolutely.
Because the worst person in this world
is yourself.
And an unteachable person.
You
So,
your worst enemy.
The worst enemy?
Yeah.
Go ahead and finish that sentence because you got something you want to say.
No, you can be your worst enemy. You like you said, your PO told you. You're gonna hinder yourself with your mouth. You're gonna be your worst enemy sometimes.
And I was. Yeah, I mean, I was.
If you aren't teachable, then you are your worst enemy. So yeah.
Oh wow. So let me ask you real quick before we go on. How is mom doing?
She is deceased. 2013.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Valentine's Day of 2013. She passed away.
Were you able to reconcile a little bit?
Oh yeah. I went back to live with her when I was 15.
Really?
15, yeah, or 14, one of them. We built a pretty good relationship. I felt like we always had a good relationship because we would always find each other no matter where I was. But in turn, her decisions that she made in the past caught up with her.
Okay.
And that caused her death.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you, when we talk about black men and mental health, excuse me, when we talk about black men and mass incarceration, and we talk about black men and the black church and homosexuality and black men and creating safe places, we cannot talk about all of that without talking about black men and fatherhood.
Absolutely. The key word is black men. You know, as a black man, I have a black father. Most of us have black fathers. So it starts there. It starts there. Just like it started with my parents, but I didn't have that father figure. So a lot of things I had to learn for myself. A lot of times we'll see that black men aren't stepping up and being fathers to their children, but was their fathers parents to them? Did their father them?
So let's talk about, you lost your dad. You never really got a chance to know your dad.
Right.
Do you feel like that played a major part in some of your trauma as a kid?
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Were there moments that you yearned for? Like, how old was you when you found out about your dad?
I was very young. I can't pinpoint an exact age, but I was young. Just hearing the stories from different family members that you would hear stories about, oh, you look just like your dad. Your dad used to do this. You do this just like him. So it was, in my mind, it's like I would have loved to have met him or have known him. So growing up, I think it affected me because I was always searching for that father figure. In different group homes, I was searching for that father figure and staff members. But something I didn't get to share is my last foster family, who is still my family until this day. They don't treat me They don't treat me as anything other than family until this day. From my foster mother to my siblings, aunts, in the family.
That's your family.
Yeah, that is my family.
Because blood don't make you family, and family don't make you blood.
Right. In fact, one of my aunts from that family just called me at 6 o'clock this morning and woke me up, and I'm still a little upset about that. Just so you know,
on a Saturday.
Right, but that is my family. So,
right.
And my foster father, he recently passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But he was my father. That was the only father figure I ever knew. So I searched for that for so long, and I finally found it in him. So that's how it showed up in my life.
But Deshaun, you have experienced so much loss, sweetheart.
Yeah.
And to just see you, like when I first saw you, I was like, ooh, bring your little fine stuff over here. And just your personality and your smile. You wear it so gracefully, and it's so free, it's so liberating, right? But all of the loss that you've experienced, how do you keep going on?
It makes me a greater person because it makes me feel like I don't want any of that to go in vain. It makes me actually feel like I have to work 10 times harder because I have to prove a point. If I told, for instance, my foster father, he expressed love through tough love.
Okay.
So he would always tell me, he would always say, is like when I was a kid, you're gonna end up dead or in jail. And I had to prove to him that no, I wasn't. And when I became an adult, he always expressed how proud of me he was. He expressed how I proved him wrong. And now that looking back on it, that was his way of pushing me. he was the person who taught me how to tie a tie.
Mm-hmm.
So, now looking back, that was his way of pushing me. That was his way of, expressing his love.
It's all about perspective, because I never looked at when people told me, oh, you're just going to keep having baby after baby, you're not going to be anything. I looked at it like, was y'all really trying to beat me down? But I never looked at it like that was their way to make sure I didn't.
Yeah.
And because I'm like you, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
You can say whatever you want to say about me.
Yeah.
But in my Usher voice, watch this. Watch this.
Even with the loss of my mother, prior to my mother passing, I had told her all my plans.
Okay.
So when she passed, I felt like I had to do it.
She knew. And she's still with you.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about that. Did you ever think that you would be where you are now? Like as peace, because you're peaceful. Like even when I embraced you earlier, before we did the show, I'm a toucher.
Yeah.
I got to know who I'm connecting with, because I'll be like, ooh. And I'm going to hug you a little longer if you need, you know what I'm saying? But I hugged you long enough, but I didn't have to squeeze no strength into you.
Right.
And then a lot of times people are scared to talk to me. I don't know why. And he was like, I was like, for what? Like, today you're going to be my baby. You good. Let's just talk and have fun. But just to see just your whole demeanor and the way you carry yourself and how professional you are. And all of the stride that you made growing up through everything that you had to grow up through.
Yeah. And like you said, I don't think I've seen this for myself because I wasn't supposed to. And when I say I wasn't supposed to, I was labeled as a statistic.
Mm-hmm. You were.
Most foster kids don't come out and do something with themselves, or they don't make it out on the positive side. So looking back, all the odds were stacked against me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not having anybody to tell me you can do this is what and motivating me and lifting me up and growing up. No, I didn't see that.
Well, I have to say this to you. When I told production what I wanted to do, and they said, we got the perfect person for you. And I was like, all right, send me their information, and I got your information. I called Julius and I said, oh, I love him already. We're about to have a real conversation. Because just reading your story, and I knew it was going to be layers to this conversation.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to talk certain key facts with you about our Black men. And the reason why this show was important to me is because I love y'all. I'm talking about, honey, it ain't nothing like a Black man in a suit smelling good. I love y'all. And I got 7 brothers, so I'm all about the boys. I mean, sisters, I love y'all too, but I just feel like our Black men go through so much.
Definitely.
And there's not enough outlets for them like it is for us.
Right.
The things that I do when I have a rough day, I may go have a detox milk bath at the spa.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I might go get a massage at the spa. What is our Black men doing to relieve themselves of the everyday stress and the everyday turmoil and the everyday work day and the everyday family day and having to pay child support and not being able to see your kids, because that's a whole nother.
I think you have to prioritize self-care.
Ooh, say it again. Look at the camera and tell them the self-care.
You have to prioritize self-care.
Self-care.
You can't just go and go and go and go. There has to be a time that you take for yourself. And self-care doesn't necessarily require money. It doesn't. If you're not in the best financial situation, self-care can be taking a bubble bath, lighting a candle, taking time to meditate,
Walk.
Right, walk, nature,
Read
anything.
a book.
Yep, travel, anything. So you have to prioritize self-care, because if you're no good for yourself, then how are you going to show up for other people? You're going to show up as no good for other people. I always tell people, my clients.
That's good.
I always tell my clients, if I'm no good for myself, because I just took a 2-week vacation, and some of my clients.
Where you go?
To Panama.
Ooh,
and some of my clients were complaining about it because, a lot of clients get dependent upon you.
Yeah, they get dependent.
That's understandable. But I say, if I'm no good for me, then how can I be any good to come in here for you?
Okay. And can I say it my way?
Certainly.
Your therapist needs a chair. And they have different chairs. Some may go on vacation. Your therapist may have a therapist.
I do that as well.
Right?
Yeah.
So we just have to give them time because they are human too.
Absolutely.
They still have problems too. Their lives aren't perfect. So listen, if your therapist needs to take a vacay, or whatever, just nod your head and say, see you when I get back. See you when you get back, because when they do that and they come back, they're ready for your problems again.
Absolutely.
Like really, they was mad.
I wouldn't say they were mad, but they some of them definitely
look
felt,
forward to their weekly sessions.
But trust me, I make it up for them.
Well, that's good, but our therapist has to take care of themselves.
Absolutely.
Listen, after they get through talking to us and everything that we, all of our cray-cray.
And that's another thing people don't understand. I'm not only a therapist. A lot of therapists are not only just therapists, but we're also mental health advocates. So we do speaking engagements. I have speaking engagements. I'm sitting here on your show with you today.
Right.
So
just trying to get it out there.
That's not all that we do.
Right.
So you have to understand that we are human.
Yes.
Understanding that your therapist is human, and understanding that you are our only priority. You are a priority, but not our only priority.
Right. I want to talk before we end this show. It seems like this just been going so fast. I love dope conversations. I want to talk about Black men and mental health resources.
Yes.
If you are a Black man and you're looking for mental health resources, can you look into your camera and tell?
Definitely. If you're looking for a suitable therapist or just looking for a therapist in general, you can go to Psychology Today. Psychology Today allows you to narrow down your search to whether it's your insurance, whether it's different demographics, and whether it's certain certain zip codes or certain areas of where you want to receive therapy. There's also if you struggle with mental illness, there's also NAMI, National Alliance for Mental Illness. They have offices in multiple states. Of course, there's also Shepherd Pratt, things like that. So
there are resources. That's the point that I wanted to make.
Definitely.
And now it might not be as many as it should be.
Yeah.
But there are more resources for African Americans to get the mental health that they need.
Definitely.
And so, is there anything you want to look in the camera and say?
I'll leave you guys on this note. I'll say it's okay to not be okay. Black men, Black women, kids, everyone. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to seek therapy. It's okay to express that you're not okay. It's okay to express yourselves and express your emotions. So yeah.
It's okay not to be okay.
Definitely.
And it's okay not to show up strong every day.
Yep.
Because we're human. And some days I just don't feel like it. And when I don't feel like it, I've learned to give myself permission to be okay with not feeling like it.
Because if you show up and you don't feel like it, it's going to show on whoever you have to interact with.
I love you. I love him.
Thank you.
Listen, this conversation has been trill. As the millennials, do y'all still say trill?
No.
What y'all say? What's y'all own word?
I don't know a vibe. How about that?
Okay. There we go. He's telling my age.
Showing your age.
Listen, this conversation has been a whole vibe, and I just thank you for bringing another element to this conversation, because I couldn't have done it without you.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
You're phenomenal, and I am so excited about your future. Now listen, don't y'all be in my DMs and my emails talking about, I want Deshaun Harris to be my therapist.